Blackbeard is without a doubt a force of chaos that's going to shake the One Piece story at its very core once he is finally unleashed and realizes his plan. Now, recent times we have seen his claim at being the final villain enter a state of peril because of Emu and his hype these last few chapters, but I'm not so convinced. Blackbeard is inevitable. And in this video, we're going to explore why Mr. Zihaha, or let me try that again, Mr. Zihaha could wind up being Oda's greatest character. Let's cook. So here's a phrase that no One Piece YouTuber has ever said before. I promise you. If they have, find it and I'll pay you $100. Two sides of the same coin. If I can avoid saying that phrase for this entire video, you're kind of legally required to like and subscribe to this channel. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, but I do enforce them. Now, Luffy serves as our extremely selfish but innocent lens to view the deceptively brutal world of One Piece through. He's selfish, but he's selfish in a way that, you know, when you were a kid and you didn't want to share your PlayStation 2 with your cousin that came from out of town to visit for the weekend. So to avoid dying and having to give him the controller, you just drove around GTA San Andreas, following all the laws, not getting into it with the police so that you could have it for as long as possible. Maybe that was an extremely personal story that maybe I only did, but I'm sure you can understand where I'm going here. Blackbeard, in contrast, is a product of that same brutality that I just mentioned, but therefore he's a very chaotic force of nature, like I said earlier. His selfishness is born from pure malice. I'm going to get what I want and I don't give a damn who it hurts. In fact, I'm going to enjoy it hurting others. But they both yearn for the same thing, it seems, freedom. This is because they are two sides of the you almost got me. The dichotomy between Blackbeard and Luffy is series defining for One Piece, and some would argue that their eventual confrontation could be one of the most anticipated in not just anime, but media in general. But why? What makes Blackbeard so special compared to other One Piece antagonists or just anime antagonists in general? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is the first episode of The Art of the Antagonist, and this is one where I will be talking about Marshall D. Teach. Now, One Piece generally does villain introductions extremely well. Kizaru comes in riding a cannonball in his best mercenary Tao impression. Kaido jumps off of a sky island trying to self-delete, and Doflamingo walks like he has the biggest balls in the world. Yet, Blackbeard stands out as the most unique. At the earliest possible moment, we see Blackbeard and Luffy are seen to be on two sides of the same bar. But as they go through these different foods, they give extreme opposite reactions to the same stuff. Luffy hates the cherry pie, Blackbeard loves it. Luffy loves to drink, Blackbeard hates it. They end up in an extremely childish competition trying to one-up each other with how much food they're ordering. They almost come to blows before Zoro stops them. Zoro, of all people, pointing out that y'all don't even know why y'all fighting. Now, if Zoro has to be the voice of reason, something is going wrong. And honestly, knowing that this is a multiple century old conflict makes Zoro's words hit even harder. It's almost like two kids, but I mean, Luffy at this point is actually a kid. Blackbeard is a grown ass man. You know, y'all know that one meme, niggas be 37 and they ops be 17. Well, that is this large rotund man and this scrawny rubber boy. But anyway, maybe I'm late to the party because I think I've been misinterpreting this scene all along. Blackbeard calls Luffy a liar for saying his bounty is 30 million. A lot of people have looked at this, myself included, as Blackbeard saying, "There's no way that your bounty is that high." But what if it was the other way around? Just recently, I kind of was rewatching that scene and I was like, I don't think he was downplaying Luffy. I think he believed he was trying to lowball him. Blackbeard thinks Luffy is lying about his bounty being lower than what it actually is, which, while it may not have been intentional, it was actually what was going on. Luffy had a higher bounty, he just hadn't received it yet, so he wasn't aware. This introduction would have already stood out as one that's extremely unique, but I'm gonna skip a little bit and include the next scene too. After Luffy gives us a masterclass on ignoring rage bait, and I promise you, every person on Twitter can learn from what Luffy did in that scene. He walks outside and he sees Blackbeard once again, but this time he's speaking some extremely profound words about the events that happened between Luffy and Bellamy. And he seems to be a big fan of the way that Luffy handled it, calling him a winner and talking about how on your journey, you run into battles that just really are not worth fighting. And it's funny because Luffy got this from Shanks, who Blackbeard seems to have some type of grudge with as well. Well, we know why he has a grudge with him, but it's just really interesting that Blackbeard was kind of applauding Luffy for how he handled that, knowing that Luffy learned this from somebody that Blackbeard hates. Crazy, right? And while he was doing this, he was eating those very same cherry pies that he got out of the bar. They look pretty good to me, but I'm not a big pie person. Anyway, and at this point, he drops what is, I think, a series defining quote: "People's dreams never end." In this moment, much like the audience, Luffy is left completely engulfed in his words, or rather, in the person himself. He has nothing to say in response. He's just stuck in a blank stare, and this is probably the most locked in Luffy has ever been up until this point, even probably still till now. The world literally felt still. All of the people around him just disappeared in that very moment before eventually being shown again, laughing at his words and calling him crazy. And after this, their paths diverge, but their fate remains intertwined. Blackbeard at this point was looking for a pirate to capture and turn into the world government so that he could become a warlord. And he missed out on a very worthwhile target. And he does eventually find out that Luffy has a 100 million berry bounty, but whatever, that's beside the point. Luffy got off really easy here, barely escaping Blackbeard's hut, because he would have been cooked at this point. I think we can agree that Blackbeard was a lot stronger than Luffy at Mocktown. But he winds up leaving the door open for Teach to instead go after Ace and turn him into the government, which is the linchpin for the Marineford War. Now, from this point on, in pursuit of his own freedom, Blackbeard finds himself directly impacting all of those close to Luffy. His brother, let's turn him in. His father's Revolutionary Army base, let's attack it. Yeah, I know Luffy isn't close with his dad, but it's still his family. And his granddad, yeah, man, let's just capture him and hold him prisoner. Blackbeard is on a quest for the world, and he is going to accomplish it by any means necessary. Now, while Blackbeard's introduction is a masterclass in itself, I think that the most Blackbeard moment to me has to be him taking the stage during the Marineford War. With so much going on during the war, I gotta leave out some stuff just for the sake of time, because Teach was doing a lot of shit in Marineford. But the exact moment I want to focus on is extremely heavy. Everything here happened because of Teach. He kills his crewmate, so Ace goes out to dole out punishment. He turns in Ace, and they hold a public execution. Whitebeard, being the man that he is, has been through a bunch of shit because of this slimy ass dude. And after several encounters that have him on death's door, he finally comes face to face with Blackbeard. Now, Teach believes that he has Whitebeard in check because he's nullified his double fruit. He's a silly rabbit, by the way. But not to mention, Whitebeard was also just on like 1 HP at this point. So, of course, in response, Whitebeard just uses his weapon. I mean, he's not a devil fruit merchant like the admirals. Of course he uses weapon. Yeah, that'll do it. He then grabs his face, and he's about to introduce him to Rox and Davy Jones at this point. But this is, to me, the defining moment of Teach. In a story where we've seen so many characters smile in the face of death or put on extremely impressive performances, Teach just begs for his life. He tugs at the heartstrings of the man who took him in as a kid and raised him on his own. I am your son. You can't kill me. And Whitebeard, who a few moments earlier denounced Teach as his son, still hesitates. Teach is the antithesis of all of the legendary characters we've met. Dudes like Roger, Odin, Whitebeard, Garp, they looked death in the face, they met it head on, and they either conquered it or they died trying. They didn't run, they didn't beg, they shouldered it all, and they tried to overcome it. And when they couldn't beat it, they accepted it. Even Luffy, as early as Mocktown, was willing to accept death with a smile. But why? Well, it goes back to what Zoro said at Baratie, which is the day that he set out to the seas to accomplish his goal, he threw away his attachment to life. If or when we are faced with death, we're going to be ready, because we're facing death knowing that we've lived our lives to the fullest potential in pursuit of our dreams. Those weren't his exact words, because as we know, Zoro is a numbskull, but that's what he meant, I assume. They don't regret anything they've done. Now, someone like Teach, who spent decades just hiding in the shadows, plotting and scheming, he would never understand this. He's willing to backstab and cheat his way to the top because he only sees value in the end goal. He wants the world, and nothing is gonna stand in his way. And if he's backed into a corner, well, I'll just beg for my life. I'm gonna lie, I'm gonna cheat, I'm gonna tug your heartstrings, I'm gonna do whatever it takes, but I'm going to have the world at some point, I promise you. But in his mind, he's doing this because people's dreams never end. So I'm not gonna let this one brush in with death go out because I have too much pride to beg or find any way I can to fight. I'ma just scheme another way to it. Now, a lot of people theorize Teach having multiple souls, but honestly, I don't think he has one at all. It's just a burning ambition for the world, and that very ambition is going to be the one that consumes him. So in a story about inherited will, Teach represents the corruption of will, if you ask me. Him being the son of Zebek was a surprise to many, and while reading the flashback, I feel like everybody was kind of expecting Zebek at some point to just be like Blackbeard, but instead, he was a pretty cool guy. I mean, yeah, he stabbed a child, but that giant was really big. I probably would have stabbed him too. He's not an angel, I guess to say, but he's definitely not what Blackbeard is. Zebek was after the world as well. He had a plan. He set out to sea. He built an extremely strong crew in the search for 2 devil fruits, and he was going to try to take down Emu to become the king of the world. On the surface, it's not that much different from what Blackbeard is doing, right? But the devil is in the details, and in this case, the execution. He never once turned his back on those that he cared for. And you could not speak ill of his friends while he was around. You was going to catch some type of weapon or fist to the face. And when his family was in danger, he was willing to go and fight for them, even when he knew it was probably going to lead to his ruin. Now, in those same shoes, does Teach go to God Valley? Maybe he'll go to try to steal a devil fruit of some sort, but to save his wife and child? Nah, it's funny, if Teach is in that same situation, he wouldn't be here today because he would have just been disregarded. But the question is, why would he? How does that benefit him? What does that serve for his plan? The only thing that matters to Teach is satisfying that hunger for the world that lives inside of him. And he will stop at nothing. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you. Please drop a like, subscribe. It means a lot. It's my journey to 1,000. Next, we hit the 500, so the next goal is obviously 1,000. And in the end, I want the world just like Teach does. And I want y'all to be a part of my crew. This is the official formation of the Gold Tooth Pirates. That's what I'm gonna call our crew. So if you want to join the Gold Tooth crew, just like, all you gotta do is get you a gold tooth in your mouth. I ain't even got mine yet, but it's gonna be there soon. Anyway, I appreciate y'all if you made it this far. Thank you, it means a lot. Love y'all. I will see y'all in the next video.